The couple were very happy to finally become parents, but Emeka's mother was not happy with the news. She called her son for a private discussion where she explained to him that birthing a girl child should not be celebrated. When Emeka asked her why, she replied, "Don't you know that a girl child cannot bear your father's name? You need a male child to carry along our family's name to prevent our generation from going extinct." Once upon a time, in the little village of Akuna, there lived a young lady called Amaka. Amaka is a high school certificate holder married off to Emeka at the tender age of 18. Her parents died when she was little, so she grew up in an orphanage. Emeka made sure she never lacked anything and he cherished her so much. Emeka has two younger siblings, Ujunwa and Eze, who lived in a nearby village with their mother. Emeka had lost his father when he was only 5 years old, and as the first son, he has been saddled with the family's responsibilities at a very tender age. After his apprenticeship, Emeka worked hard to get funds to start his business, and luck was on his side, or should we say destiny. His business blossomed, and he built his first house at a very tender age. Even though he lacked a father figure while growing up, Emeka was a responsible man who did everything to make his mother and the younger ones comfortable. At the first year of his marriage to Amaka, Emeka's mother pretended to love his wife, and his brother always sang her praises in terms of being a good wife and taking care of their brother. After being married for 2 years without a child, his mother began to see flaws in everything Amaka did. She would blame her for not giving her son a child, and she would accuse Amaka of doing things she did not do. At first, Emeka would listen to his mother's malicious talks about his wife and apologize on her behalf. But as soon as he found out that it was all lies, he began to distance himself from her. And whenever she brought up the issue of childbirth, he would always tell his mother that only God gives children. Emeka's love grew for Amaka with each passing day, and he paid no heed to any bad thing his mother said about his wife. At the third year of their wedding anniversary, Amaka and Emeka welcomed their first child, a beautiful baby girl. The couple were very happy to finally become parents, but Emeka's mother was not happy with the news. She called her son for a private discussion where she explained to him that birthing a girl child should not be celebrated. When Emeka asked her why, she replied, "Don't you know that a girl child cannot bear your father's name? You need a male child to carry along our family's name to prevent our generation from going extinct. Maybe you should marry a very fertile girl. It's obvious that Amaka cannot give you a male child. Imagine her giving birth to a female child after 3 years of waiting. She's just a time waster." Emeka was surprised at his mother's outburst. He tried to explain to her that every child should be celebrated, regardless of gender, but his mother believes that he needs to give birth to a male child at all costs. "But this is my first child. Who says my wife cannot give birth to another child? She is too young and can still give me a male child," Emeka explained to his mother. His mother left in anger, unhappy that her son did not listen to her. 2 years after welcoming their first child, Ada, Amaka gave birth to twins, two beautiful girls, and Emeka was very, very happy. He invited his friends to celebrate with him for the safe delivery of his wife and his lovely twins. The celebration was ongoing when his mother arrived. Emeka and his wife welcomed her, and the first thing she asked was, "Where are the babies?" Amaka took her to the room where the babies lay sleeping peacefully. She looked at the babies in anger and she screamed at Amaka, "Why have you decided to keep giving my son only girl children? Why can't you give him a male child?" Amaka was heartbroken. She explained to her mother in law that only God gives children and that she is disappointed that she did not even congratulate her for safe delivery. Her mother in law lifted her hands up to eat her, but Emeka intervened and screamed at his mother to stop. His mother began to accuse his wife of trying to beat her up, but Emeka told her that he heard everything that transpired between them because he has been standing at the door for some minutes. She was the one trying to eat Amaka without congratulating her. Emeka's mother began to accuse him of always supporting his wife, and she cried as she left his home. Amaka begged her to stop crying, and she tried everything to stop her from leaving, but her mind was made up. Days later, Emeka visited his mother. He asked her why she hated his wife so much that she always looked for every opportunity to make her feel bad. His mother then explained that she did not hate his wife. She is only looking out for him because Amaka is only interested in his money and she has refused to give him a male child. Emeka replied that Amaka is not a gold digger because she stayed with him when he had nothing, and moreover, only God gives children, and he doesn't mind if he won't give him a male child after his three wonderful girls because he knows they'll be great. Mama, all I want are children that will make me proud as a parent, whether male or female. When the mother heard this, she began to cry. Chimo, what are you saying? What has this girl given to you? Why would you say that you do not want a male child, Emeka? Emeka dropped the things he bought for her, and he explained to her that he can't force her to love his wife, but that she should quit being dramatic and lying against his wife just to make her look bad. He said he will no longer tolerate her unwelcoming attitude towards his wife because he loves her dearly, and anyone who calls themselves his family should do the same to her. 3 months after the birth of their baby, Emeka's mother visited, but this time she was all warm and full of smiles. She carried the twins and even prayed for her daughter in law to give birth to a male child. Amaka was surprised and she wondered if it was her mother in law or someone else. This time, Mama stayed for days and Amaka kept wondering why. But she took good care of her mother in law and did everything to make her happy. But one day, Amaka was tending to her babies when her mother in law sat beside her. She began to question her mothering methods and she called her dumb for beating her babies the way she did. She told Amaka that she was there to observe her childcare methods to see if she was a good mother and wife, like her son Emeka always portrayed her to be, but she is disappointed at what she found out. She informs Amaka that she took care of Emeka alone since he was 5, and it turned out that way because she's a good mother. She didn't want Amaka to be careful and know her boundaries if she really wants to stay with her son for a long time. She poured the baby's bathe water on her and said in anger, "No one can take my child Emeka from me, not even a small rat like you." Mama warned Amaka, "If you like, tell your husband everything I said or did. You will regret the day you were born." Mama added as she left Amaka with her mouth wide open in shock. Amaka began to cry. She did not know what else to do to make her mother-in-law like her, but she pretended like everything was okay when her husband arrived. After that encounter, Mama did not visit again, but she did everything possible to taint Amaka's image to members of her family. Soon, everyone believes Amaka is a bad wife who has turned her husband against his mother. During family occasions, Amaka would get piercing looks from family members, leaving her in confusion. Some people would also react to her strangely due to the lies her mother in law had spread about her. 4 years later, Emeka died after a short sickness, leaving Amaka with three little kids to care for. Words got to the family members, and Emeka's younger brother, Izzy, arrived a few hours after getting the news of his brother's death. He instructed Amaka to hand over all the keys to her husband's house and cars. Amaka was surprised. She asked him why, and he replied, "You refused to give my brother a male child, and you killed him. What did he ever do to you? Why are you so mean?" "Excuse me, why would you say such? Have I ever done anything or said anything for you to think I killed your brother?" Amaka asked, shocked at the false allegations by her very gentle and welcoming brother-in-law who has never seen any fault in her since she has been in the family. She is very surprised at the sudden change in his attitude. "You have every reason to kill him because You think you can inherit everything he has once he's dead, right? You are a joke. Asa laughed hysterically and he took her hands, forcing her to open his brother's room. His brother's dead body laid on the bed. Yet, Izzy was concerned about his properties and belongings. He began to ransack his wardrobe, unbothered and creating a big mess in the room. He found some money in his brother's wardrobe and he took his car keys and documents and stormed out of the room. A few minutes later, his mother and sister Ujunwa and some of his uncles arrived and everyone began to cry. Hours later, Izzy called the family to a private meeting. He lied to them that when he arrived, he found Amaka searching his brother's room and trying to run away with the house documents. For this reason, he believes Amaka must have killed her husband to inherit his properties. Abomination! The elders exclaimed and shook their heads in pity. He also told them that he has the documents in his possession for safekeeping and to After a few deliberations and hushed discussions, the elders came to a conclusion. Amaka will have to sleep beside her dead husband's corpse for the next 7 days, and she will drink the water used to bathe the corpse to prove her innocence. Failure to do so would mean that she truly killed her husband. The elders asked Ujunwa to call Amaka, who was in her room crying. Ujunwa did not believe what her brother told the elders. She asked Amaka what really happened when her brother arrived, and Amaka explained how he took his brother's car keys and house documents from her as soon as he arrived, without bothering about her husband's corpse lying in the room. Ujunwa told Amaka not to argue with the elders and accept whatever decision they make, and she would do everything to convince her mother that she is innocent. Amaka, I know you're a good wife to my brother, but I want you to understand that some people will never like you, despite your kindness. My brother never liked you, but he pretended just because of what he was getting from Emeka. What if I tell you that Eze knows about all the properties Emeka bought even before he tells you? And I hope you are aware that according to our tradition, he is entitled to Emeka's properties after his death, since you did not bear him a male child. Amaka sobbed, nodding her head in agreement. Ujunwa hugged her and consoled her, and she promised that she would do everything to make sure that she is not sent out of her house. Amaka did as advised and she slept in her husband's room for the next 7 days. On the fifth night, Ujunwa told her mother and brother that she has something to tell them. She brought up the issue of drinking water used to wash her brother's dead body. Mama, I know we are all mourning, and Meka's death is painful to us. I also know that his wife, Amaka, will not be happy that her husband died at such a tender age. Let us be lenient with her. What will she gain from killing her husband? What is the evidence that she killed her husband? Ujunwa asked her mother and brother, searching their eyes for answers as they looked at each other. What nonsense are you saying? You did not see what I saw when I got here. I saw Amaka packing Emeka's money and documents in a bag to abscond with the children. I had to collect everything and keep them to prevent her from running away. She has to drink the water because that is what tradition demands and she must do it. Stop interfering with tradition, Ujunwa. I'm not interfering with tradition, okay? After doing everything she is required to do, what will happen to her and her children? Will you give them this house at least? Emeka asked her brother. What stupid inheritance? Does she have a male child? You better watch your mouth, sister, Eze said in anger. He stormed out of the meeting and he warned his sister. Ujunwa then faced her mother. Mama, I want you to be honest with me. I know you do not like Amaka, but do you believe she can kill your son? Mama hissed at Ujunwa's questions and she replied, you are just like your father, too trusting and too soft. Can't you see? Amaka used her charm to make Emeka love her alone and despise his family members. What tangible thing did Emeka do for you when he was alive? Other than sending little change for feeding every month, did he buy you a car or build you a house despite all the money he has? Look, I know Amaka may be innocent, but she will have to drink that water, innocent or not. She took away my son from me, and he showered all his love on her when he was alive. I will make her life a living hell for turning my son against me. Mama began to sob, and Ujunwa had to hug her and stop her from crying. Ujunwa knows right there that her mother and her brother only want to be mean to Amaka because Emeka chose to stand by her when he was alive. And now that he's dead, they want to take all their frustrations on her. Ujunwa did not know what else to do or how to convince her mother and brother to leave Amaka to mourn in peace after the loss of her husband. But looking at the situation and how they are going about it, she began to hatch another plan. On the seventh day, Ujunwa went to see Amaka inside her brother's room. She was very scared looking at her dead brother's corpse that she ran out of the room in fear. She called Amaka to the door since she can't step outside the room until the seventh day. She whispered in her ears and Amaka nodded and thanked her. By the morning of the eighth day, the elders were waiting to see if Amaka was truly responsible for her husband's death. While Ujunwa stayed with the people washing her brother's dead body, her plan was to get the water, throw it away, and replace it with clean water for Amaka to drink. Meanwhile, Amaka was in her room, waiting for the water to be given to her to drink. Somehow, Izzy suspected what Ujunwa was up to and he tried to collect the bowl of water, but Ujunwa refused vehemently, saying she should be the one to do it since she's a female. Why would you even try to collect the bowl from me? Do you want to go into a mourning woman's room? She queried Izzy, and he backed out, knowing it was not right for him to enter his brother's wife's room at this early stage of mourning. But he followed her closely as she took the water to Amaka. As Ujunwa got closer to Amaka, she pretended to sleep and dropped the water on the ground because that was the only option. Izzy was very angry at her. He knew she did it intentionally. He screamed at her and told her that he knows the tricks she's playing. He went back to bring another water in anger. This time, he forced Amaka to drink it, or rather than swallow it, Amaka spit it out. Abomination! Izzy screamed as he ran out to meet the elders. He explained to the elders who were waiting outside that Amaka poured the water away, which means she killed her husband, and his mother began to scream, Chimo, what did I ever do to you, this girl? Mama began to roll on the ground, crying and wailing, asking people to help get justice for her son because it is obvious that his wife killed him since she has refused to drink the water. The elders urged Amaka to drink the water the last time to prove her innocence and she can live in peace with her in-laws. But Amaka insisted that she will not drink the water. She explained to the others that when Izzy arrived, the first thing he did was to take all the money in her husband's closet and his house and land documents. So she already knows that he will send her out the minute she drinks the water, whether she's proven innocent or not. Izzy charged at her, asking her why she's lying against him. He called her a murderer and a witch, and he went inside to bring out her belongings. Ujunwa tried to stop Izzy, but he shoved her aside. He threw all her bags outside the gate and asked her to leave with her three little demons. Where do you expect me to go? Amaka asked Izzy, crying, and he replied, I don't care. Leave this house, you evil witch, and never return. You killed my brother, thinking you will enjoy everything he has worked for? Never. Unsure of where to go or what to do, Amaka and her kids sat at the entrance of the home she once shared with her lovely husband, hoping that somehow she would wake up from this horrible dream. Amaka sat outside her home with her three kids crying. Being an orphan, she did not have anywhere to go. By nightfall, her kids began to cry and ask for food, but there was nothing Amaka could do. She began to knock the gates, and luckily for her, Ujungwa came out with a cooler of food and some money to help her get a hotel for the night. Amaka begged Ujunwa to ask her brother to let her sleep there for the night, for the sake of his brother's children, but Uju replied, Amaka, the matter is beyond what we think it is. The elders are hungry that you refuse to drink the water, and they have informed everyone in the village. I would suggest that you leave here and move as far as you can to avoid problems from these people. It is very obvious that they will harm you if they find you here. But I did not kill my husband. Why would I even think of killing the father of my children? Amaka sobs as she explains to her sister-in-law. I know you can't kill him because you love him so much, but I still don't understand why Eze had to come up with such cruelty just to send you away. I think he feels entitled to his brother's properties since you do not have a male child, but that shouldn't be an excuse. You deserve something too. Emeka had over 4 properties and I wonder what Eze will do with all of them. Amaka exclaimed when she heard this. She was surprised because her husband only told her that he has just 3 properties, and she wondered why he hid it away from her because he never hid anything away from her. Amaka, Izzy told me that your husband did not tell you about the last one because he bought it in your name and wanted to surprise you with it. But now he thinks you found out somehow and decided to kill your husband because of that. What? Why would I kill him? For what? I would rather be very happy that he's giving me a house. Amaka replied, surprised at Izzy's thinking. I trust you, sis, Ujunwa replied. She hugged her and told her to go as far as she could. Before the elders arrived from the village, she helped Amaka carry some of her bags out of the estate to the car park. Amaka has a friend in a close by village called Oka, but the last time she saw her was 8 years ago, before she got married. She took the bus, praying and hoping that she would still be in the house where she lived. The bus got to Oka by midnight. By this time, Amaka's 3 kids were crying because they haven't eaten anything since they began the journey. While trying to get a bike to her friend's place, a man appeared from the bush and jumped in front of them. He began to chase her and her kids, and Amaka had to drop the bags and save herself and her kids. The man stopped chasing her after she dropped the bags. He took the food flask and ran off. Amaka quickly went back to pick her kids' bags and she continued her journey. Her intention was to feed her kids with the food when they get to their destination, but that is not possible now. She walked to her friend's house and instantly recognized it. She knocked on the gate for more than 30 minutes before someone finally came out of the house. The person was an elderly male. He looked angry because it was past midnight and he was already sleeping. He told her that he is the landlord of the house. He asked her why she decided to walk around with 3 kids at that time of the night. And Amaka explained that her husband died a week ago and his family kicked her out of the house. Please, sir, I'm here in search of my friend. I don't have anywhere to go. I'm an orphan, Amaka pleaded. The landlord felt bad for her, but he was scared of harboring someone he doesn't know in his house. But when he looked at the little kids, he had a rethink. He opened the gates for her but asked her to wait at the entrance. He went in to wake his wife and informed him of the strange woman with 3 kids. The landlady rushed out to let Amaka and her kids in. She was surprised at her story and really felt bad for her. She prepared something fast for her and her kids and they all ate hungrily. After the meal, the landlady told her that her friend had moved out of the house 3 years ago and she doesn't know where she currently stays. She told Amaka to sleep and they would talk better by morning. By morning, Amaka went to the landlord and the landlady to thank them for taking her in with her kids. She then told them that she was leaving. When they asked her where she was going, she told them that she did not know yet, but she's thinking of looking for an accommodation in a neighbor city. The landlord did not agree with her decision, especially since she has 3 little kids with her. Why not stay here and leave the kids with us until you get an accommodation? Our last daughter got married a few weeks back and her room is unoccupied, the landlord suggested. Thank you very much, sir and ma. I actually don't have money for an accommodation presently. I'm thinking of looking for a job or find something doing before thinking of accommodation. Amaka replied, scared that they may turn her down. It's okay, my dear. You can stay for as long as you want, as long as you don't make any trouble. The landlord agreed. Amaka was very delighted to hear this. She thanked them and promised to be of her best behavior. Amaka bathed her kids that morning, and by the time she was ready to get them food and leave home in search of a job, the landlady brought some food for her and her kids. Amaka thanked her, and after eating, she cleaned up the kitchen. She informed the landlady that she was going to search for jobs around the neighborhood, but the landlady, scared that she might abscond and leave her kids behind, decided to go with her. After checking about 6 places, she found a cleaning job in a school through the influence of the landlady, and she started immediately. Amaka, who once employed people to work for her, now has to go through the rigorous process of cleaning the toilets and mopping the classes after school. Amaka cried many times when she recalled how her husband did everything to make sure she doesn't lack. She wondered why her husband's family would hate her so much and not care about his 3 children. It's such a pity. At the close of work, Amaka's employer, Mrs. Badmus, called her to her office. She was impressed by her job and she asked if she has done cleaning job before, but Amaka replied that it was her first time. Mrs. Badmus then suggested that she also clean her home after school hours and she would be greatly compensated. Amaka was very happy as she accepted the offer since it means more money for her. When she got back home, the landlady asked that they go to the market together to get some foodstuffs and buy some soup ingredients. As they got down from the tricycle, they saw a group of people surrounding a dead body. Some people were taking pictures while someone made a call for emergency services. When they moved closer to check what was happening, Amaka found a food flask on the floor beside the dead body. Could this be the thief who stole from me yesterday? Amaka thought aloud. When she looked around them, she found her handbag tossed in a corner. She picked it up and found it was empty. Someone from the crowd asked her why she took the bag, and she explained that the man had snatched a bag from her the previous night and he took the cooler of food meant for her and her children. A woman from the crowd exclaimed when she heard this. She was the mother of the young man. She explained that her boy came home with the food the previous night, saying he bought it from a food vendor. He ate the food without issues but had a running stomach that morning. I gave him some pain relief drugs, but the pains did not stop, she explained. He got here a few minutes ago and confessed to stealing the food from someone. He thought he was being punished for stealing and started begging me to help. He fell down and died a few minutes later. I have warned him several times to stop this stealing attitude, but he just wouldn't listen. The woman screamed and screamed as onlookers consoled her. Amaka could not believe her ears. She was surprised that Ujunwa, her caring and friendly sister-in-law, would think of poisoning her and her innocent children. She could not believe this. She almost fainted, but the landlady held her to prevent her from falling. They left the scene and sat at a corner. She explained to the landlady that her sister-in-law gave her the food yesterday evening, and she asked her to leave the premises before the elders arrived from the village to deal with her. So, she sent us away so we wouldn't die at the front of my husband's house. She wanted me and my kids to die far away from home so that no one would suspect her. Oh my God, Amaka exclaimed. The landlady, shocked and speechless as well, advised Amaka, do not ever think of going back to your husband's house or fight for any property because it is very obvious that your husband's family are hell-bent on doing everything to ensure you or your children does not have access to any property. Amaka began to cry, grateful to God that she and her children did not eat the food and end up dying. She continued working diligently and soon she was able to get accommodation. But when she wanted to leave, the couple asked her to continue living with them. Amaka thanked them for their kindness and she was very happy. 1 year later, the landlord and the landlady called Amaka for a discussion where they told her that they have a gift for her. The landlord gave her some documents and asked Amaka to check them. Amaka opened it and found out it was a house document, but her name was on it. She asked the landlord what was going on, and he explained, my dear Amaka, you stayed with us for over a year, and we really love you and the kind of person you are. You are kind, reserved, and the kind of daughter-in-law anyone would wish for. Your husband's family are very terrible people. Before you arrived, my husband and I wanted to give 50% of our money to charity. Our children are all out of the country and we are aging gradually. We've been thinking of changing someone's life for the better, and you came at the time we were still deliberating. A few weeks after you arrived, we decided to buy your husband's house from your sister, and if you keep your behavior after a year, we would give it to you. Somehow, I found your husband's family house from what you told me about them, and we bought your home in your maiden name. Your sister-in-law Ujunwa sold all your husband's property at giveaway price, while Eze was blind the day we went there. Your mother-in-law seemed to be suffering from stroke, and she couldn't say anything as we negotiated her deal. She just kept staring into the air. Anyway, we were able to buy one of the houses. We can't say what's happened to the others. That is the document of the house sold, the landlady said. Amaka was speechless. She did not understand what was going on. But I don't have the money to buy the property, and I don't know how long it will take me to repay you. Amaka, don't you get it? We bought your husband's property back in your name to help you do as you wish with it. Amaka exclaimed and she jumped up from the chair. She began to cry as she hugged the landlady. She then told her, Uju is presently poorer than a church rat and she's in the village now. Your husband's mother and his brother, Eze, are there too. From what I heard from reliable sources, they are suffering greatly right now. Amaka, they are simply suffering from maltreating you. And Ujunwa had squandered all the money she made from selling her brother's properties. Who knows if she's even responsible for his death? Amaka heaved a heavy sigh. She hugged the landlord and landlady, happy that she would be finally going back to her home with her kids. It all seemed like a dream because she had lost all hope and never imagined going back home. But after thinking for a few days, Amaka knew that Uju could come up with more schemes. She sold the house and bought another one in a faraway city. She stopped her cleaning job and opened a supermarket. Amaka built more houses and became wealthy in a few years. The moral of this story is that some fights are not worth it. And when we lose something, we should not feel too bad for too long. It may be a stepping stone to better things. We should also be mindful of people who seem too nice. Sometimes they may be looking for ways to harm us easily. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Bye.